Chapter 5. On the following morning, Mr. and Mrs. Holdsworth woke to the sound of music. Of a kind. Dimly there came to their ears the battle hymn of the American Republic, played, correctly, but very slowly, on the piano, while Harry's voice informed them that John Brown's body lay a-mouldering in the grave. "I've never heard Harry play a tune before," said his mother. "Huh! He plays better than he sings," growled his father as he pulled the bedclothes over his head. In the kitchen, at breakfast time, he said, "Didn't know you were a musician, Harry." "Didn't you, Dad?" "Had you practiced that before?" his mother asked. "Oh, no. It's easy if you know how." Madison, sitting on Harry's shoulder, gave a loud whistle, and Harry began to giggle helplessly. His father looked at him over the top of his Sunday newspaper. "Harry," he said, "as I've told your mother, sometimes I think you're mad." Harry's giggles got worse. He began to splutter and snort, and tears ran down his face. No, he gasped. "That's the one with the feathers." "Eat your egg," said his mother, "and don't be so silly." Madison looked disapprovingly around at the breakfasting family. Not that he had the slightest objection to seeing animals eat, or indeed generally to what they ate. Much of their food, he knew from experience, was delicious, and he must make it clear to young Harry that plain common parrot seed was only for plain common parrots. If there was one thing that really turned him up, it was to see them eating boiled eggs. It seemed to him that to do such a thing in front of any bird was in the worst possible taste. Despite himself, however, he watched with a shudder at their different methods. The woman set her egg in its cup, big end up, tapped it carefully with a spoon, and peeled off the shell from its top, leaving a bare white crown like a monk's tonsure. The man stood his egg narrow end up, and with one brutal sweep of a knife he beheaded it. The boy did not use an egg cup. He peeled all the egg from his shell, laid its defenceless body on his plate, then with a fork he squashed it into a horrid pulp. "Yuck!" said Madison loudly. Mr. Holdsworth put down his newspaper. "That bird actually made a noise," he said. "That sounded almost like a word." Opposite Harry was grinning all over his face. "Now what's the joke?" said Harry. "Say, 'Good morning,'" Harry said. "I've already said it when I first came downstairs." "No, not to me, Dad. Say 'Good morning' to Madison." "Don't be so silly, Harry," said his mother. "Let Daddy read the paper in peace." "Oh, go on, Dad." Mr. Holdsworth shook his head resignedly. "Oh, well, if I must," he said. He looked at the parrot. "Good morning," he said. "Good morning," said Madison. "Well, I'm blowed," said Mr. Holdsworth. "When did you learn to say that?" Madison had opened his beak to say, "Oh, about 40 years ago," when he saw Harry put his finger to his lips. So he shut it again. "So you've actually begun to teach him things," said his mother. "You just kept saying it to him till he repeated it. He said it very clearly, didn't he?" "Yes." Mrs. Holdsworth leaned forward. "Good morning, Madison," she said. Madison bobbed his head at her. "Good morning, Madison," he replied. "What a clever bird you are," she said. "What a clever bird you are," said Madison. "Amazing," said his father. "He's a natural mimic. We might have known that Uncle George wouldn't have bothered with just any old parrot. Isn't it strange, though? Here's this creature repeating what we say word for word." "Pronouncing everything quite correctly," interrupted Harry's mother. "And what's more, if you notice, with a distinct American accent." "Which he well might," went on her husband, "considering that, after all, Uncle George must have played this sort of game with him, and yet, and this is the point, of course, when it comes to actual meaning of what we're saying, the bird hasn't a clue. Isn't that right, my friend?" he said to Madison. "Not a clue." "Not a clue," said Madison gravely. "It's a pity they haven't got proper brains like us, isn't it, Dad? I mean, he could help you with the Sunday Times crossword puzzle." "Don't be silly, Harry," said his mother, and to her husband, Off you go and settle yourself down with your precious puzzle. Harry, time for you to do the washing up, please. Put Madison back in his cage first. Yes, Mum, Harry said. In the passage between the kitchen and the sitting room, he stopped for a moment out of earshot of both of his parents. Mad, he said softly. Yeah, Harry. Shall we let them in on the secret now? I sure hope so, Harry boy. It's kind of weird just repeating stuff all the time. Makes me feel like a real dope. Okay, Mad, said Harry, but wait till I've finished the washing up. I don't want to miss this. He went into the sitting room where his father was already settled, pipe in mouth, pencil poised, and put Madison into his cage. I hope that bird's going to keep quiet now, Mr. Holdsworth said. Oh, he will, Dad, said Harry, grinning. I'm sure. Sure, said Madison. Time passed, and all was Sunday morning peace and quiet. The only sounds were the occasional scratch of Harry's father's pencil, the noise of a page turning as his mother read a book, and the cracking of seeds in the carrot page, or the parrot cage. Harry came in with mugs of coffee. At that moment, Mr. Holdsworth knocked out his pipe and sighed deeply. Mrs. Holdsworth closed her book. Are you stuck? She said. It's quite a hard one today, really. Listen to this, for instance. I can't think of a single word in the English language that fits. Blank S, 2 blanks T, blank C, blank N. Blank. What's the clue? Cat in spite of being a thief. There was a moment's silence, and then, It's an anagram, Mr. Holdsworth, sir, said Madison in a respectful voice. I don't even know how to pronounce this word. I'll have a go. Citacine? It means belonging to the parrot family. You want I should spell it for you?